Hey guys, Bart from TST Industries here. Welcome to TST Garage. In the studio with me today is a beautiful Yamaha MT-10. This is the newest generation. It still has the OEM fender on it, OEM rear lighting. What we'll do in this video is demonstrate how to install the new TST Elite 1 Fender Eliminator on this bike. Now, we do have a choice here. There are 3 different versions of our Fender Eliminator. Each one of these is based in the closeout. This closeout set is a set of components that is meant to close the hole left behind by the removal of the fender, make everything nice and cosmetic, close it all out, make sure that dirt, debris, and grime do not enter your motorcycle. And then we also replaced your key cover from the standard flapper that Yamaha puts on these things, and some other companies that make fender eliminators, they require you to move that over. There's springs, there's pins, it's a pain in the butt. So we actually developed a mechanism that allows your key to go in, turn, when you withdraw it closes up, and it protects your lock from all the road debris, grime, water, whatnot. So, like I said, each fender eliminator kit is based in this. So the high mount versions that you see here will mount roughly where you see the OEM fender mounting into the bike, and enables you to mount your license plate to the bracket, and then either a set of our TST Industries signals will mount to the bracket, or you can also opt for an OEM signal replacement bracket, or this awesome integrated taillight that we've produced. It's meant for this bike. It's actually developed to fit in this bike specifically. I know there are some other companies out there that have marketed an MT-10 light for this bike, and that's a wonky installation. This is just plug and chug, but we do have a separate video covering that, so I invite you to watch that on our YouTube channel or tstindustries.com in its product page. All right, back to our fender eliminators. These guys mount roughly where you see that, and then we have a low mount. Our low mount version mounts your license plate on a reverse angle. Instead of back swept towards the back of the bike, it sweeps towards the front. It tucks it under here. Here at TST Industries, we believe in freedom. Freedom means choice. The choice is yours. If you want to mount your license plate there, just make sure that you're running around legal. If in your jurisdiction this is not legal, chances are the cops will pull you over and you will have a problem. So that's up to you. Please make sure that you're buying the correct parts for you, for your use case, and for your motorcycle. All right, quick brief over how these are made, and then we'll jump into the installation. Our Elite 1 standard high mount and the low mount are laser cut and powder coated stainless steel. They will give you very good longevity. We've powder coated them matte black to make them stealthy looking. They just disappear. These are the components we don't want viewable on our motorcycles, so we make sure that they're as minimal and as stealthy as possible. Our flagship set is Elite 1 adjustable. The bracket portion of it is manufactured out of CNC machined aluminum. We've brushed the flat bracket for a very nice techie look, and then subsequently we anodized everything black. Do say it's adjustable because you can, after building it and configuring it, you can loosen these screws here and change the angle that your license plate will hang on. This is, of course, within a range where it'll be safe from hitting the tire during suspension travel. So when we get into that installation, I will show you the nuances and details of that part. All right, I think I've briefed over all of the things here except for one: license plate light. Our sets do not include a license plate light by default for many reasons. Some people choose not to use a license plate light. Some people use different license plate lights. We don't want to make you buy something you may not need. So this is a separate component. If you require our license plate light, drop it in your cart during your purchase and it will be included in that fashion. In this video, we will not be going over the actual installation. I will show you how to route it, and then we have a separate video covering how to install this on any motorcycle. Within that video, you can gain access to several different methods for universalized instructions for that. You'll really only need the connection method. We do include the connectors in this set. So in this video, we're going to demonstrate the installation of our high mount kit. Here you see the 2 different high mount kits that we have for this bike. On the table, I will construct each one separately so that you know how to construct each one. and then we'll just take one of these chunks over to the bike and install that on the bike. And that is because the installation of this chunk or this chunk will be identical. All right, let's get going. All right, in the first step, we'll be removing the license plate off the bike. I'm going to retain the hardware that is holding my license plate on. We will reuse that hardware. Next, we will remove the seat from the bike. And while we're down here, we are going to push in the locking mechanism on these two push pins here and remove the fasteners. I like to reset these guys to their pre-installation configuration with the button head up. This way, we're ready for reinstallation. Next, we will grab a Phillips screwdriver, remove these two fasteners here, subsequently remove the panel that they fasten. We'll lift up on the forward section here, and that clears. Push it towards the rear, disengage this slide lock from the tail light, and now that's free. We'll remove these two 8mm fasteners. I have an 8mm socket for that. We will then get a 4mm Allen and loosen these screws here. Don't have to take these out. Just need to loosen the tail light so that we can move it up and down. Next, this panel will have to be disengaged from the tail light. Tail light has a tab that sticks out and towards the rear, and this area has an interference window that slides onto it. So what we want to do is push this light forward and up, and then grab this side panel here and pull it towards the rear until it clears out. Same steps on the other side. All right, now we have these panels loose. They expose these 8mm fasteners here and here. We will remove those. Once these fasteners are out, lift off this plate containing the seat latch. Now just remember the configuration. This slot is on the left side of the bike. Now we have access to the wiring. We will be removing the fender along with its wiring. So let's identify what those connectors are. Here are your signaling connectors. This is your taillight connector that will not have to be dislodged. This is your license plate light. This guy can be a little cumbersome. The tab has to be pressed here pretty tight against the connector to release. These guys have these tabs here. You can press against the frame and then slip them off. That disconnects our lighting. Then we have to unroute all of the wiring. Some of the wiring is run into the tube or next to the tube. I've noticed on several different models, they were either in the tube or next to the tube. So you just need to make sure all of that is out and loose and free to come out. Make sure that it's not intertwined with any other wires. Once you have your wiring clear all the way into the fender section, we will now be able to remove these 10mm nuts. There are 4 of them. One is hiding under the main taillight connector. We do not have to disconnect the taillight, but we will have to lift off this connector from its captive space on the sub tray. Otherwise, we will not be able to get access into that 4th nut. So let's do that now. I'm gonna grab a flathead screwdriver and carefully pry up and also try to release the locking mechanism. This plug underneath has sort of like an anchor that needs to be collapsed this way to withdraw. I can do it one side at a time, this and then out, this and then out. That is what I'm performing here. It's just no good way to show you guys on video. This has to be done pretty gently to not mess anything up in here. So here's what I'm talking about. This is one part of that anchor. You have to collapse it in like so and pull it out. All right, that's done. We have access to all 4 nuts. I'm gonna switch to a 10mm socket. Pull these guys out. Sort of a cumbersome fit in there, so I'm gonna use a magnet to take these nuts off. If you don't have a magnet, you can try with your fingers. If you don't have giant mitts like mine, you may be able to grab that. If that is proving difficult, you could try needle nose pliers. I'm gonna support my fender with my hand from the bottom side so that it doesn't just drop off. This is the last fastener holding it on. Once that's out, I'm going to guide all the cables through so I don't snag anything. Our fender is off now. And I still have 1 nut that I need to remove. All right, all of our fasteners are out. The last step in the disassembly procedure will be to remove these 2 spacers. I'm using just a small flathead to do that. So we remove the rear spacers, but the forward ones stay where they were. The next several steps will be performed on the table here. We have our base set, the closeout, and 2 child sets of the different Fender Eliminator brackets. First, let's talk about the closeout. You flip it over. You'll notice there are 4 screw bosses here. The forward screw bosses take the smaller screw going through the washer with the smaller hole, small washer with the larger hole, through the bike into this position, the forwardmost, closest to the lock mechanism. There are 2 sets for that. Then we have the larger washer, larger screw, through the bike into these bosses back here, also 2 sets. The redundant parts here that will not be used are these closeout plugs. Those are provided in case you're using the closeout set by itself or in combination with the low mount bracket. Let's push that off to the side for a second, talk about the brackets. Here you have our standard Elite 1 bracket. It comes with all the mounting hardware. We will show you how to configure that onto the closeout into a chunk, and then the steps to install that chunk into the bike will be performed using only one of these since they are identical. This guy here, our flagship Elite 1 adjustable, comes to you in a bag. So first I'll need to show you how to build it into this form and then how to mount it onto this unit. Since this is our flagship set, I will then take this chunk that we've built out of these components, transfer it to the bike, show you how to perform that installation there. Now, we do need to make several considerations here before we begin. If you are running a license plate light, you will need to make an access hole through the closeout to the inside. We did not provide a hole by default because this unit mounts in combination with several different sets, and then we would have to provide several different holes, different size holes. That's just not practical when you want to have a very cosmetic look on the outside. So the drill center for making this hole is right here. If you are running only a license plate light on this setup, it will be a 3/16 inch hole, and I will demonstrate that because we will be running a license plate light on this particular installation. If you are running aftermarket signals and a license plate light, then the hole will also be made through here, but we will step up to a 1/4 inch drill bit instead of the 3/16. One last note, if you are going to be reusing the OEM signals with our OEM signal remount kit, then you'll notice that these OEM signal plugs are huge. So we will need to cut all this material out, and we've designed in this barrier wall to give you guidance of where to cut to I've demonstrated this cut on this closeout. We will not be getting into the instructional portion of how to cut these in this video. That will be captured in the video that will go over all the different signaling options that we have for this bike. This machine will actually be receiving our integrated tail light, so we will only be doing a license plate light in here. Let's go ahead and do that now. Eye protection, drill with a 3/16 inch bit. We'll drill right through that hole center that we've provided in here, making sure not to have any body part back against that area. All right, get all the burrs off, and now that's ready. I'm gonna keep it with the components that go with the closeout. Now let's demonstrate how to build the standard Elite 1 chunk. We have our closeout, we have our bracket, and dedicated hardware. We have M6 by 12 screws that will fit through a washer into the bracket. This mounts onto our closeout in this configuration. Flip that over, cap that off with the nylock nuts. Now the nylocks do have a locking element shown on top here and a flat face. Let's get the flat face onto the closeout. We start those threads, and then we will grab 4mm Allen, 10mm open-ended or box wrench. We are going to start tightening on these fasteners and get it to the bottom, and then back off just a little bit so that I have adjustability. I will perform my final tightening after I've configured it here. The idea is to have it center about the center line, like so. And then also there is some movement possible in this yaw direction, so I just need to make sure that this face is parallel to this face. Once I get that situated, and then tighten all the way down. Now we are sandwiching a thermoplastic piece in between several fasteners and metal components. There's no need to tighten these too much. The nylock elements in the nuts will take care of the actual locking. So now this, along with its hardware, is ready to go on the bike. I will now break this down and instruct how to build the Elite 1 adjustable chunk, and then we'll hop on over to the bike and perform that installation that will be universal for these two types of setups. I've gone ahead and emptied the contents of our parts bag, and I arranged all of the components kind of in a way that they are going to be configured in. So let's go through that real quick. We have our hinge bosses here. To those we will be attaching the L brackets via washer and screw. Two of these components will be built mirror image. One thing to know on these is the configuration of this L bracket. The L bracket is not bent on a 90. It does sweep like this. So in effect, we will be mounting it with the license plate sweeping downward towards the rear. This is why we need to configure it this way. Another consideration is the hinge boss. It does have a curved face and a straight face. So the curved face goes towards the flat bracket. Now, once these are built, they will be fastened to the flat bracket via countersunk screws and the nuts from behind here. So this will happen on the innermost holes for this particular kit. The flathead screw goes through the hole, through the L bracket, and gets capped off with a nylock locking nut. Now, these screws and subsequently the mounting screws for this entire setup to be mounted into the closeout will need to have some form of vibration extraction protection. I like to use Vibratite. This is a thread locking agent that is plastic safe. If you're inclined to use regular store-bought auto store-bought thread locking agent. It will likely degrade the plastic here, and you don't want to do that. That will void your warranty. So please, if you're going to use a thread locking agent, use Vibratite. Let's get these set ahead of time. I'm just protecting my table surface with this tape here. All right, that's set. Let's go ahead and start assembling these guys. I will take one of these screws, grab a washer for it, get it through here, 4mm Allen, through this connection. Now there's a note I want to make here. The hole on the L bracket is a little bit larger than the protruding boss on the hinge boss, so that is meant to get on and center. We'll have to make sure that it centers and drops in first before you tighten that screw down. I go to the bottom, back off just a little bit to provide a little bit of adjustability. Repeat the steps. Let's go ahead and mount the flat bracket to these hinge boss setups. For this connection, we will be using an 8mm open-ended or box, along with a 3mm Allen. Once again, to the bottom, and then back off just a little bit for adjustability. Drop our screws in through the top, and we will line these up with our hinge bosses, and using a 4mm Allen we could start those threads. Let's get that close to the bottom. Back off just a little bit for adjustability. Now we need to ensure that these bosses are parallel to each other and also parallel to the center plane of this component. This will be done using a 10mm open-ended wrench. Once we hold it parallel, we'll lock it down. Again, the idea here is to tighten down enough so there is no movement in the system, but not to over tighten it and destroy the plastic components. That's looking pretty good. We can test how good we did by unlocking the hinge screws just a little bit, and then we'll see if we have good hinge action. And in fact, I don't have too much friction. This is good to go. So now we can transfer this to the bike and then continue the installation there using the hardware I mentioned before. Back over by the bike, we will line up our closeout and fender eliminator assembly with the void left behind by the fender. I'm going to start with the rearmost screws. These are the easier ones to insert. Working from the top, find the center of that boss and start working the thread in. Now we are working with a Plastite screw. This is a self-threading thermoplastic screw going into ABS plastic. We basically start the thread and lightly turn it in until it bottoms out, and then that's it. That's where we leave it. Do not over tighten these screws. That will destroy the plastic bosses and void your warranty. How do you know if you're at bottom out? Well, you can put the screwdriver into the fastener, push down on it, push up on the closeout. If nothing moves, you're at bottom out. We are going to repeat the steps on the other side with the remaining larger screw and larger washer. Support the closeout from the bottom, form the threads, get to the bottom out position, test it, good to go. Now, on the forward bosses, we have the right forward location that actually has a pretty large void here. If a fastener or a washer goes down into here, it goes all the way forward. We don't want that. So I've made myself this little cardboard cutout with a little ear that's 90 degrees. That will protect my fasteners and washers from traveling. Same concept in this position. Form the thread, get to the bottom, test for bottom out, and leave it alone. All right, that's bottomed out. Now, if you are running a license plate light, like we are here, this is pretty straightforward. You feed the license plate light over the license plate bracket, and then through that hole that we made in the drilling step. And as you push that through, it appears right here. You take up the slack, make sure that the wire itself is not twisted up. You untwist it. And then you can either cut it here and strip the wire, or leave it at full length and just take up the slack by laying it in with all the other electricals here. Bring it back up here. These license plate lights do arrive with 2 of these posi-tap connectors. The method for the actual electrical connection is shown in our license plate light dedicated video, so please watch for that there. Little tip I can give you here is that you should clip this license plate light connector. It does have a little bit of electrical tape on it. If you clip that off, it exposes enough length here to get those posi taps on. All right, I will make that connection off camera in a little bit. We are just focusing on the actual Fender Eliminator installation here. So from this point forward, the remaining steps will be the reverse order of disassembly, so I will not commentate on those steps. They are just backwards of what you saw in the disassembly. All right, bike components are back together. Now, you do still have a good amount of adjustability here. So that's good, because we want to leave just a little bit of slack here, just in case you want to adjust this hanging angle to your liking. In case you go up very far, you may tug on this and break the wire. So I do like to give it just a little bit. This is how this comes together if you are running one of these brackets instead of the adjustable. The license plate will sit here, and the wire from the license plate light will go through this slot and then under and over through the closeout into the top. Now, we did save the hardware from the OEM setup, so I am going to use that. If you do not have hardware, we do have these reflective hardware sets and also anodized color sets that have minimal looking hardware, minimal looking fasteners from the outside. They are aluminum and anodized so that you could match your theme to the bike. If you notice here, there is red masking on this license plate light. I typically don't use the adhesive that is beneath that masking. If you are inclined to use it, just strip off the red masking that exposes the high bond sticky tape, and they'll get this light fused to your license plate. All right, I've centered it, I have leveled it, and now it's ready for adjustment using a 4mm Allen. I'm going to unlock the hinge bosses. Now we have a certain amount of travel. Now it's up to you to keep this in the proper location for this particular vehicle. If you go straight up and down, there is a slight chance that during suspension travel, your tire may make contact and bend your whole system, possibly snap it. So let's err on the cautious side. I like this location here and this angle. For the tightening procedure here, I do hold the license plate itself and do not allow it to rotate. We do not want to stress the closeout component. So limiting the flex in that component is very, very important. All right, I have it locked down. It's ready to go. Like I mentioned before, off camera, I got the connection made. We have license plate light going, good to go. At this point, we throw the seat back on and that will be the end of the procedure. All right, that's it, you guys. In just a couple minutes, we've restored the sexiness of this machine. Look at this, the results are awesome. I love this look. It definitely beats the OEM shovel back here. Once we put an integrated taillight on here, it will be super sexy. I'm really excited about this. I hope you guys like it too. Thanks for watching. I hope you check out tstindustries.com. We do have these components ready to go, ready to ship to your house. And with these videos that we make, you'll be empowered to make the installation yourself. I want to thank you for watching. Drop me a comment. I like hearing from you. Hit like and subscribe. And ride safe. See you guys later.